No.
I've been doing
Oh.
a lot, like very little non-water, put it that way.
Oh.
Like a cup of coffee, that's about it.
So he's probably like 75%,
Closer to like 90.
90%,
Yeah.
90% water diet.
Just, I occasionally slip up with coffee.
Yeah.
Like Juliet will just go, here it is. I'm like, all right.
Today we have Patrick Cote, Alistair Overeem, and Felice Herrig on the show. You know, some of these people, think about Felice Herrig. We've had her on the show back when she used to do this reality show. It was a Muay Thai show called Fight Girls, I think, on Oxygen Network. And she would come on our show. Back then our show was called Tag Radio. And she would come on and recap the week with us. So we've known Felice for a long time. Turn your mic. And it's good to see Felice's career turning around here. She's a tough out, man, for whoever gets her. But I think I know the leading candidates.
Well, she wants Watterson or Van Zant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too much into replays, but Van Zant's lost twice since she beat Herrig. Herrig, on the other hand, I think has not lost since she lost to Van Zant. So, if Van Zant's down, I think the UFC would do it because I think it'd be cool if she evened it up and then they could do a trilogy. You know, it's kind of like old school meets new school, but two girls that are attractive and I guess go about like their popularity came about different ways. I think Paige is just like, I'm cute, whereas Felice is like, what's up? She actually
Like sexy?
puts effort into like remember her old weigh-ins,
Mm-hmm.
Bellator, Invicta, wherever. She put effort into her costume, and she definitely wanted to connect that way. But we'll see. The other one's Watterson, but I think Watterson, she beat Van Zant. And, when you get on that Fox desk, it's because the UFC obviously pushes you. And I think Watterson might be kind of like in that tier. She was rumored as being next for Joanna, except I believe Jessica got that. But if Jessica had lost, she's right there. So I think she might be one tier ahead.
You know what? We need to touch on that. We didn't touch on that yesterday.
I know we
and because
we were trying to cover
it, right?
Well, the calls throw some things off, and then
I couldn't believe
whether it's a Super Bowl or UFC Fight Night, or then we just get into like a Misha story, and yeah, it throws things off a little bit. But we can definitely talk about it.
I couldn't believe the pace that they had in that fight. I kept telling the guys, we were watching it here in the studio, and I kept telling them, Andrade just got to slow down. Like this, that pace is amazing.
Right.
And she wasn't. I couldn't believe it.
Hey, did you see Sam Jam's Facebook message?
Yeah. You know we're live.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Okay.
Do you remember that interaction where didn't I come up to you and go, what is wrong with this guy? How could he not remember that?
I remember you saying why couldn't he that he couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But the original conversation was done in person, right?
Right. The original conversation was done in person. Then one day, I think it was on TV, I was laughing. So I sent him a text and I said, hey, remember this? And he just goes, I don't remember nothing. So do you remember me telling you, like, how does he forget that? Like,
yeah.
We literally laughed about it for days, and then I came up with the theory, and then all of a sudden it's like, woohoo, I remember that.
It was on last night.
So I don't know.
Sam, you ever watch the movie House Party? Was it one of your favorites? That shit was funny, man. That's actually what we're talking about right now. Yeah. What was his name? Bilal?
Bilal.
Dragon breath.
I hadn't heard the name Bilal, and then I swear to you, I think we had 3 Bilals on MMAjunkie Radio within like 3 weeks, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How you doing, Sam? Good.
One minute. 1 minute and we crank it out. Today's going to be a good show.
Wish my internet would go up.
I feel it. Some days you just have that
restart
feeling.
everything.
Computers aren't as cool as they used to be, huh?
This is weird.
I read a story yesterday about a homeless person trying to get a job
I'm gonna restart.
and how difficult it was without him knowing computers, having an email address and all that stuff. All right, here we go.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to MMAjunkie Radio. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly goes. Ari's co-host, and back east, he's going to handle the producing duties today, Sam. Oh, I could never give away that
No,
nickname.
you can't do that.
Yeah, we have a friend named Sam All Jam, and he loves his nickname, right, Goes?
Oh, he loves it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his thing.
Sam Bam Cunningham. I remember that guy. He was a running back for the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. Sam, come on, Sam. What did we nickname you yet, or do you have a nickname?
Moose?
I like that one, yeah. Sam, no eggs, no ham. You were obviously a vegan after you stopped playing football, though, right? What made you go vegan? Oh, wow. Okay. When's the last
Damn.
time you had meat? Oof. So no bacon for you, huh? Yeah, but bacon tastes good. Pork chops taste good. But I respect your decision. I respect your decision. No, I do. Because if you had just said, I want to fit it in my skinny jeans or something, whatever. Probably I'd probably like behind your. I wouldn't spit on your shoes or anything, but I'd probably tell goes, look at this guy. But that is important to respect your family history. So if that's the way, if that's better for you, then that I'm down with that. But you said you're part Jamaican, right? Oh, okay. I thought he was like part Jamaican. Trinidadian. All right, cool. I was gonna say no more jerk chicken then, because isn't that big in Jamaica, goes?
Big time. Yeah.
No
Jerk
more
chicken's awesome.
Oh, all right. And if we, how much would we have to pay you to have a burger? What's your price? Five figures. All right. There was a pro poker player here that hadn't eaten meat in a long time. His name is Howard Lederer at the World Series of Poker. And somebody said, "I'll give you $10,000 if you eat a burger." He ate it. He goes, "Give me the $10,000." I don't know how he felt afterwards, but
They
yeah,
probably. I hear a lot of people get really sick.
that's that price we're talking about. UFC 208 is this Saturday in Brooklyn. I imagine that's close to Jamaica, New York. But Jamaica, Queens, right? All right. Right. So Brooklyn is the host city for the UFC this weekend. They're going to crown a new featherweight champion there, and it's Jermaine D. Randami and Holly Holm, both moving up from 135 to compete for the inaugural featherweight championship there. So, a lot of the champions, I wouldn't say took time off. I think they were just recovering from a hectic third and fourth quarter of 2016. So these two young ladies aren't champions, but they are competing for a championship. And now, of course, other titles are starting to be up for grabs. UFC 211 officially has announced, I believe, right? Stipe Miocic and Junior Dos Santos, or at least it's looking pretty damn good. I don't know if we have to get the official UFC Twitter to announce it or Dana White, but I think I've seen it everywhere, and I think it's a done deal. We know Anthony and DC are doing their thing. We know there's an interim with Habib and Tony Ferguson, and rumors of Joanna and Jessica, that happening too. The reality show has two coaches who will be competing for a world title. So I think things are starting to pick up, and I think this is going to be the one event that really, really gets things going. Because 2016, really, you can't complain as a fan, man. We had some great fights.
Hell no, you can't. All their stars fought.
Right. We had some great fights, some comeback stories, some upsets, a little bit of everything. And who paid the price? The month of January. Anyway, here we are in February, UFC 208. I was just looking at the front page of MMAjunkie, and that lineup is set for Saturday's pay-per-view. Here we go. It's the prelims go with Marcin Tybura versus Justin Willis, Juan Carnero versus Ryan LaFleur, and Rick Glenn versus Philippe Nover. Fight Pass, 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time. I get asked this a lot, and I figured, yeah, I'm a smart aleck, and I say, that's why you got the app. It's free on tablets, on mobile phones. Check it out. We have it all there. But I can be lazy, too. So I'm going to throw this out maybe a couple times this week just so people know. 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific start time for this Saturday. 3 fights on Fight Pass. The prelims then move to Fox Sports 1, 8 p.m. Eastern. Randy Brown versus Bilal Muhammad. Wilson Hayes versus Ulka Sasaki. Nick Lentz versus Islam Makhachev, and Jared Brooks versus Ian McCall. On the main card, Jim Miller and Dustin Poirier get things started off at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Jared Cannonier versus Glover Teixeira. Tim Bosch versus Ronaldo Souza, a.k.a. Jacare. Derek Brunson versus Anderson Silva. And Holly Holm versus Jermaine D. Randami is the main event. Remember, Derek Brooks and Travis Brown got moved to UFC Fight Night 105. Otherwise, I think we'd be in for quite a treat. Like, there's, some decent, good matchups in here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we did the best job of putting UFC Fight Night 104 to bed. Is there anything that we didn't cover, Goes, from that fight card that you wanted to cover in terms of either the Zombies' return, Felice's win, over Alexa Grasso, Jessica Andrade. I mean, she was a beast.
That was the fight that I wanted to talk
some
about.
Some stories here and there. And speaking of Felice Herrig, she'll be a guest of ours today. She'll come on at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. Alistair Overeem before her comes in at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. And Patrick Cote, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific.
I couldn't believe the pace that Andrade had that entire fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was throwing bombs nonstop. And I kept telling the people that were here in studio watching the fights with me, there's no way this girl can keep up this pace. Because a lot of them had bet her. You guys are in trouble because there's no way she can keep up this pace. And she kept getting faster and throwing even harder. I couldn't believe it. That was a great performance.
It was, man. So now you know that she's got 15 minutes of fucking fury in her. I don't know about the other 10, but it doesn't look like she was at any point she was going to slow down.
No, it didn't.
So, Joanna is a beast. She really is probably the pound-for-pound number one female at this point. She's undefeated. She's got title defenses. She's looked great. And she's beaten basically the top competition in her division. But I think she's going to have her hands full. Andrade dropped from 35 down to 15, where she more than likely belongs because, we stood next to her, and she doesn't have the height, She definitely has the strength, good build on her. But this is going to be a good fight. I did want to say Joanna's been put down, and definitely knees have been wobbled. So it's not like you can't get to her chin. It's not like she's just, untouchable or anything like that.
But it was one time, right? And it was mostly
I
us.
think Letourneau hurt her. I think Esparza early on did something. I think she just caught her. I'm just saying it's just been quick moments, and she's recovered. That's what makes her so great, and she's come back and put it on people. But what I'm saying is I think there was times where Anderson wasn't even being touched as far as like a clean shot, and he just go, man, you ain't going to knock him out. How do you get him to the ground? But here in this case, I think you're like, hey, you know what? I mean, with the kind of volume she throws and the power she throws, she may be able to hurt Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Now, in doing so, she got away from her specialty, which is the ground game. She got Angela Hill a couple times, but she really didn't get going there like I thought she would. I thought she was going to just be a dominant force. It didn't happen, but credit also to Angela Hill for defending some takedowns and using good footwork and just not giving those opportunities to Jessica Andrade.
I think that's going to be a super tough fight for Joanna.
All I'm saying is we have a live dog.
I think I'll put it this way. I think it's a tougher fight than Claudia.
Yeah, and little side story there. Tiago, I think Okamoto is his last name, right? Or Tamura, sorry. Okay, yeah. But Tiago, the translator and also manager of Jessica Andrade, is the former manager of Joanna.
Yeah, that's true.
So little subplot there. You wouldn't sense it by any of the translations, any smart aleck comments that I may have heard that night. I don't really get onto the social media too much afterwards and see what's there, what kind of a parting of the ways there were. But I think Brian Stan mentioned in the broadcast that she is going to use her resources to possibly involve Joanna's former coaches. Now, remember, Joanna left her team in Poland to work at American Top Team.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting there. That sounds to me like there may have been a bitter parting of the ways in Poland, and who knows, maybe they might be open to revealing some sort of a playbook. Who knows? That hasn't even been set, but I think it's a done deal. We'll see. Bermudez, he's done it before. He'll just have to come back and start a new streak, but he is dropping these key fights along the way that hurt his chances at a world title. He had a 7-fight win streak at one point, and he just couldn't get a whiff of a world title, and that included having a win over Max Holloway, who at the time wasn't the Max Holloway we know now, the UFC interim featherweight champion, but still, it was a good win. Seiler, Hettis, Guida, those were solid wins until he ran into Lamas and Stevens. Came back with Kawajiri and Honi Jason wins. Now he lost to Chan Sung Jung. So he's had win streaks before, 2 7-fight win streaks, and now he's got to get on a win streak. Doesn't have to be 7 fights, but at least 3, maybe 4. And then he's going to have that pivotal fight where he's just going to have to win that. Otherwise, he's not going to get a whiff of a world title fight.
It's not very often that you can put together 7 fights and not have a title match, right?
Yeah.
But it's happened a couple times to 2 different fighters. So it just, man, I think that's.
He should have won that fight, man.
You got to put it on your
layoff. You got to beat that guy.
I think managers are going to start to get blamed at that point, right? Because 7 fights, you got to go, man, why am I not fighting for a title here?
Felice Herrig, we talked about that. We know what her possibilities will be next, and we'll cover that more with her. James Vick, he's tough, man.
Yeah.
He's tall for that division. He's got good submissions. It looks like he's starting to use his length a little bit more. I think he can be, one of those guys like Dariush who just starts to climb up eventually. Now, will he break top 5? We're still about a year and a half away from even seeing that or even giving those matches. But he did his job. He got past Trujillo. And I thought Trujillo may catch him, man, because Trujillo's got some pop in his fists.
It was a tough fight, and I like that he stuck with the submission, though, because he had certain positions where he probably could have let go and just ground and pound, but he had confidence in being able to get it.
Well, I do want to say one thing about Bermudez. Do you think he got caught up too much in Super Bowl week? Now, I don't know if they brought him out early or what, but he was out there doing interviewing Tom Brady, and who knows? That may have just been an hour of his time, and he was back in the hotel chilling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put the blame on that, but a lot of people were saying, wow, this guy's out there. He's doing a lot of media, and he actually had some quick hits with Tom Brady and some other people. He didn't do bad. He was actually kind of funny, but I started to wonder that, like, when's too much, When's it too much?
I think he just got caught. I think he has to maybe change his style a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he likes to throw them hands, but he's good at getting guys down and just controlling them. I think he may have to change it up a little bit.
Volkan Ozdemir defeated Ovin St. Preux via split decision. St. Preux's had it tough, man. St. Preux was, I thought once he got past Shogun, I thought things were starting to really look up for him. And he parlayed that with the Cummins win. So he was getting past, losing to Ryan Bader. And then he runs into Glover Teixeira. Bounces back with Rafael Cavalcante, Feijão. And then all of a sudden he's lost 3 in a row. Now the Jones fight was late notice against possibly the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
The Manua punch, tough one. But this should have been a bounce back for him. Now I know there was a switch of opponents. I get that. But still, that opponent sure as hell wasn't ready for Ovin St. Preux, just as much as Ovin St. Preux wasn't ready for him. So although you want to put your arm around him and go, hey, it's going to be better, this, that, whatever, that's just the fight he needs to win. And that could have, preserved his spot like in the top 10 where you say, well, let's give him another top 10 guy. Now I don't know.
What do we hear from his opponents all the time? We hear how strong he is and how hard he hits, right? I just wish he was a little bit more aggressive. He is pretty aggressive, but I mean just get in your face from the get-go, don't even let you do anything. I think he'd have a little bit more success.
Marcel Fortuna defeated Anthony Hamilton. Hamilton's had some stoppages, man. He's got his clock cleaned a couple times, and he really probably needs 6 to 9 months off, come back with a fight, and give it one more shot if he's into it or not. I mean, he's a big guy. He's got some size. If I'm not mistaken, this is the guy that Jack from Seattle told us about, right?
I don't know.
I think he told us about him, and he was maybe doing MFC or some other stuff. So we've tracked him for a while. I don't know what to say about him, but Fortuna we know will be headed for 205. He weighed in at 210 for crying out loud. So I don't even know if he could make 185, but apparently ground game is legit. That's what they were saying on the broadcast, and you can definitely tell he's got hands. So I'm anxious to see what's up with that guy. Andrade defeated Hill. I don't think Hill loses too much stock because I think Andrade is great, and I thought Hill showed courage. She showed a chin. A couple times she caught Andrade, and she's improving her ground game. And with the run she's had in Invicta, she'll just get another quality matchup out there. I don't think the stock dropped too much.
It depends. I think amongst the hardcores, I don't think the stock dropped too much. But you're right. Like, not too many people know about the run that she's done in Invictus. They just kind of know the UFC and what they've seen in the UFC. And what they've seen in the UFC hasn't really panned out, right?
Curtis Blades defeated Adam Milstead. I think Milstead was probably going to lose. Now, the only question I had was Blades' gas tank going to deplete because of all those slams? It looked like Trujillo and Nurmagomedov there for a while. He was just getting tossed, or Rory versus Nate Diaz. But, he did what he did. He stops heavyweights. And he's now 7-1 overall. I think 2-1 in the UFC. The only loss to Ngannou, who's also a beast. So as long as he continues to improve, I mean, it's fun seeing some of these younger heavyweights out there. Milstead, it looks serious, but I'm just going to go with the worst possible scenario, which is probably some sort of a torn ACL or a kneecap dislocation. So probably 9 months to a year, and maybe he can come back. I think that surgery is starting to become way more successful than it used to be, and guys are coming back with very strong knees. Conor McGregor comes to mind. George St. Pierre. Now, as I say St. Pierre, I think he's had a re-tear or tore the other knee. But these guys have come back, and my point is competed and won or defended world titles.
It doesn't seem that way in other sports, though, huh? In other sports, they just don't seem the same.
Tom Brady, Super Bowl winners, he had the same thing too.
Yeah, but I'm talking more like a running back.
Yeah, right. I get what you're saying. Chaz Skelly's a beast, but he's in a position. He's in a division that's so stacked. I can't even get him into the honorable mentions. He's getting a look, and I'm putting him up against everybody else that's in there. But there's some really good fighters there at 145 pounds. My second favorite division to the 170s. But I have to reassess, man. There's just really a lot of talent there. There's somebody holding him up. I think he actually lost to Elkins, and Elkins holds one of the last spots. But in 2017, he could definitely progress up. All right, Ricardo Ramos, he got a win. Tisha Torres, she got a win over Beck Rawlings. Nico Price, Khalil Roundtree, excellent knee that he threw there at Daniel Jolly. Performance bonuses were Andrade and Hill, $50,000 each. That's fight of the night. And performances of the night was the Korean Zombie for his KO of Dennis Bermudez and Marcel Fortuna, who defeated who defeated Anthony Hamilton. That was also a KO punch. I guess some others they could have given him to was Chaz Skelly. He had the submission over Grits, an undefeated fighter, and there was the knee was pretty legit. I think maybe if he walks
I think he
off,
went out on the first knee.
right? If he walks off, maybe I don't know. That fight was a great fight of the night, but if he had 4 performances, then I think Roundtree may have qualified. Who knows? I feel terrible for some of these athletes, but maybe they'll get some sort of a boost or a bonus. Now, 611,000 was the total gate, and just over 8,000 were in attendance in Houston at the Toyota Center. And there you have it, UFC Fight Night 104. So UFC 208 is this weekend, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that main event. Are you into the featherweight division in women's MMA, or could you do without it? Like, where do you sit with it? Should it have been these two? When Cyborg got into her troubles, which haven't panned out altogether, it's just her being flagged for a potential anti-doping violation. Should they have put the brakes on it? I think in the past the UFC has committed to something and then backtracked. Not this far where there's been an announcement, but long term I just don't see the viability there. And Misha made a good point. Look, if you're going to start somewhere, I guess go for it. But if they are not seeing 25, I don't like that jump. I don't like that division isn't deep. It just looks like they could go, we made a mistake. And goes, I'm telling you,
They're
in
in too
3
deep,
months,
though,
we'd
aren't
all
they?
forget about it. Well, I'm saying
they
2
were.
months ago.
Don't you think at that point?
Cyborg's troubles came in December. I think by then they could have just said, you know what, we're going to put that on hold.
I think you can. Oh man, I mean, we're all gonna look dumb, right? If all of a sudden a few females go up, other people get involved.
35 just lost 2. And if Misha retired for good, which sounds like it, and Ronda may not be back according to Dana White, that's 4 quality 35ers that were just lost.
Every time somebody sits here and tells you they're gonna retire, you get a feeling, right? You could either tell whether or not they're gonna come back really in your gut. I felt like that was the last we've ever seen of Misha Tate. How about you? I know she said it.
Once she closed the door on 25, I think so.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Rick from Alaska. What's up, Rick? How you doing?
Hey, Rick. Rick, you know what? We need to take a quick commercial break. Let me put you back on hold real quick, George. We got to take this break.
Okay.
We got to fix something here.
All right, Rick, we're going to put you on hold. Take this break. You're listening to MMAjunkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Stay close. Are we going to break?
So is this one break or two breaks? You doing the single here or a double? Can you hear that? Okay. All right.
Yeah, in national underground thunderbound when I stomp the ground like a million elephants, a silverback orangutan. You can't stop a train. Who wants some? Don't come unprepared. I'll be there, but when I leave there, better be a household name. Weatherman telling us it ain't gonna
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, "I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home?" That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here Georgian goes.
Hey, your discussion on the fight card over the weekend, I just want to emphasize how much I enjoyed watching Curtis Blades fight. I mean, I don't remember seeing him fight before, really, but I'll remember seeing him fight from now on. That was incredible. I know he's kind of gassed a little bit, but I've never seen a heavyweight throw another heavyweight around like that.
The way Milstead tried to defend one of those slams, he posted his leg in an awkward way, and that was it. You know, I don't think Blades wanted to win that way, but I'm not so sure that he wouldn't have won anyway. Maybe if he didn't finish him, maybe the third round would have been a little bit more of a lay and pray type thing. But still, all it takes is a couple of those hammers or elbows, you know, on your face, and that might stop a lot of fights.
Yeah, and I was getting a parlay going with my girlfriend's brother, and I picked 5 winners until that fucking parlay killer OSP started fighting. I thought that was the most for sure fight on the whole card, too. I was like, we were going to stop going. Like, he was just letting it ride. And I was like, no, just let OSP fight. Like, we skipped the guy who weighed in at 210 because I wasn't sure about the Hamilton fight. It was like too much of a risk. But OSP's for sure. I mean, he's like number 5 or 6 in the world. Who is this guy he's fighting? And he just killed. I mean, I've never seen someone take a dump like that.
Yeah, man.
I'm never going to support him in a fight again. That was fucking terrible. Sorry, I try never to cuss on your show, but I was so mad after that fight.
All right, buddy.
Anyways,
well, thank you very much for calling
in. You guys
in.
have a good day.
All right, we'll see you.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Later. Parlay Buster. Man, if I was a fighter, I wouldn't want to be known as a Parlay Buster. All right, let's talk to Patrick Cote, guy that's been around for a long, long time. Man, he's been, I think 2000. What was it when he fought Tito Ortiz? Goes
out in the boardwalk, right?
Yeah, stepped in on late notice, stuck him on the jaw a couple times.
I remember
2004,
that.
2017,
when that happened.
And he still wants to get down. He wants to get down at an upcoming card. Let's bring him on. Patrick Cote, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to MMAjunkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes, and it's good to still keep talking to you, and you're still out there making money and giving a lot of excitement and pleasure to the fans that love a great scrap.
Yeah, man, I love that sport. You know, I'm passionate about that sport. I mean, even after 15 years, I'm still there. 12 years in the UFC, and I'm still enjoying that. I did, you know, prepare my after career since 3 or 4 years. So now I'm all set, and I'm fighting because I want it, and I'm still enjoying that.
Yeah, it probably is. I guess. How can we say, when you get to a point where you're fighting more for the love and not for the paycheck, it's more enjoyable, really, right? I mean, is it more enjoyable to get through a camp, maybe?
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I love the paycheck too.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight for free, so it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's when I wake up one day and I don't want to go to the gym, I will stop. You know, this is the privilege I have because you know I'm okay with my life. I'm okay with my after career now. That's the privilege that I have. That when I'm not gonna feel that I wanted the gym anymore and make sacrifice. It's gonna be easier to pull the plug.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, you know, as a welterweight, you've had some good runs, 2-3 fight win streaks, and the only guys that have stopped you have been guys in title contention. One was Stephen Thompson. The most recent one was Donald Cerrone. So I guess I wanted to ask you, how many more years and fights do you have left, and what do you think you can do to fix that? You know, to start these runs and finish it, and maybe get a title shot at 170 pounds.
I don't know how many years, but as long as I'm happy to doing that, as long as it's not dangerous for my health. I have a family now. I have a cute little girl now, like 5 months old. So it's a blast now. And you know, as long as I'm able to compete at this level, I can see why I stop it. You know, my last fight against Cerrone, I had a night off. You know, I was pretty flat. That was a bad night for me. I didn't perform like I'm supposed to. I was mentally very, very tired. because a lot of things happened, during the past year. I'm doing a lot of stuff outside the cage. I have a real estate company. I'm working a lot on media. My wife was pregnant, and I launched a book and all those things. But I don't make any excuse. Cerrone did an amazing job at that fight. But you know what? I'm sure that if the fight happen again, it's going to be a different story.
All right. You'd like to fight Cerrone down the road at some point, then, is what you're saying?
I like to fight anybody who already beat me. This is bottom line. This is that. But there's a couple of guys in the ranking too that I think that the welterweight ranking now it's completely nonsense, and I don't think that a couple of guys over there deserve to be in the top 15.
All right. So when do you want to get back in the octagon? What kind of names do you have out there as far as who you'd like to fight?
I think everybody knows that I want to fight Jake Ellenberger. The thing is that 2 years ago we had a couple discussion on Twitter. We had a little beef. I think it was 2 years ago, and his excuse is because I wasn't ranking, and for him maybe that wasn't a good fight to make. But let's be honest. The guy only won 2 of his last 8 fights, and he's still ranking like 12 or 13. That doesn't make any sense. And this is very easy to make excuse for a loss when you only fight a guy who is ranking, and it's easy after that. You said, hey, I always fight a ranking guy, so that's why it doesn't matter if I lost because this guy was ranking in the top 15, so I'm still top 15. Mm-hmm. Come on, let's be honest. The guy only won 2 of his last 8 fights, doesn't supposed to be still in the top 15, and and I'm trying to call him, and in a polite way, in a classy way. I just want to fight this guy. I want to fight a rank-up guy. I don't understand why I'm not in the top 15. The only guy who beat me in 170 division is a title contender, Stephen Thompson, that I think won the last fight, and he's supposed to be a champion, and Cowboy Cerrone, that before his last fight against Masvidal was like unstoppable at 170. So this is the thing that my mind I don't understand this ranking, and I'm not the only one. And this is why I want to fight this guy. Guys like Ellenberger or Rick Story or even Tarek Safedin. I don't have anything against those guys. I have a little thing against Jake Ellenberger, but this is pretty clear, and everybody knows, and he knows that I want to fight him. I want to fight him in Buffalo in UFC 210 in April 8th. That's what I want. It's close to the border. It's close to Canada. A lot of Canadians will be able to come to watch this show. First time UFC is going back to Buffalo since 1995. It's going to be a big event. So I want to be part of that, and I want to fight this guy since a long time. And I think now it's the timing. It's the perfect timing now.
I like it, man. Jake Ellenberger against Patrick Cote. Those guys will throw down.
I kind of I play it out in my head right away, and it does seem like it would be a fun fight.
Both guys can crack, that's for sure.
Yeah, but
everybody likes this fight. Everybody likes this fight. That's a fight for fans, and that's a fight fans, and it is what it is. But you know what? It's probably gonna be the same excuse again that he's ranking in the top 15. I'm not. And for him, it's not a good fight for him. But come on, man, just watch his last fight. He almost lost his job. He was on his knee begging for keeping his job. He did a good performance against Matt Brown, but after that, he went with Masvidal. I don't know what a crazy fake toes injury. I don't know what happened in that fight, but that was kind of weird. So right now, the timing is good now.
Patrick is spitting some venom right now on MMAjunkie Radio. It's Patrick Cote, folks. He wants to fight Jake Ellenberger at UFC 210. It takes place on April 8th, and it's in Buffalo, New York. The UFC coming strong to the state of New York since they've legalized MMA there. So they definitely have kept their word. And it would be close to Patrick Cote's digs. He's from Montreal. How far is that, by the way? It's just like an hour flight. How about the drive? How long of a drive does it take to get from Montreal to Buffalo?
The drive is maybe 6 or 7 hours.
Okay.
This is and flight. There's no direct flight. I don't know why, but there's no direct flight anymore from Montreal to Buffalo. So you have to make a connection in Newark. So it's a little bit longer. But before it was direct flight, it's like an hour flight. It's very, very close.
Yeah.
But it's close to Toronto too, and a lot of big MMA fans community are in Toronto. So it's just right there. It's just across the border. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna have a lot of Canadian at that event.
Patrick, you mentioned the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight and Tyron Woodley. For the longest time, this has been a division that was ruled by one guy. Now the belt has been passed around a little bit. Do you like that scenario better, where the belt kind of moves from guy to guy, or do you like having that one dominant champ up top?
I kind of like it because it showed that this sport can go everywhere. This is the beauty of mixed martial art. You can't be favorite on paper by a million, but when the bell rings, it's like 50-50. You never know what can happen in mixed martial arts fight, and that's why this sport is so popular now. That's why the last 10 years this sport is on top because of that. Because you can't expect the 100% the guy is going to win against another one. This is the beauty of that sport, and you can see it now with the belt is going to somebody to another one, and this sport is so the fight can change so quickly that never know that what can happen during the fight. So that's why I kind of like it, because it showed that everybody is good in this organization, and everybody trained hard, and you can't count nobody beat it before the fight.
How often do you size up the champ? Do you look at him and kind of in your head play it out?
Sorry, what?
How often do you size up the champ? Look at who's champion and think about your skill set versus him. And we've had fighters even say that when they're not training for an opponent, they're training for the champ. I train for my next opponent. The thing is, I already fought Thompson, so I know if he's a champion. I know what to do to go there and make a good fight. I fought him. I lost by decision. That was a pretty close fight. In my head, I won the first round. The judge gave me a first round too, and he won the last 2 rounds. So that was a pretty close fight. And no, always, the thing is, I'm working for French TV. I'm like the French Joe Rogan, so I'm commentating every fight of the year. So I know fighters, very, very well, because I don't have choice to study the fighters, because I'm on TV and talking about them. So for me, this is I think this is a little bit advantage for me.
So 2 years ago, this whole thing started with Jake. Have you seen him within those 2 years, or has it just been basically, like you said, like a social media or a Twitter war?
No, that was just a social media, and now he's not. He was answering me like 2 years ago, but now it's like that's silence, and he doesn't want. I don't know what's going on, but he doesn't want to answer me. But you know what? In his head, I know what's gonna happen. I know he knows that's a very dangerous fight for him, because of my style, because of my power, because I'm not ranked, in the weird UFC ranking now. So for him to go against a guy who's not ranked, as dangerous as me, it's not a good fight for him. But you know what? This is what it is. I never asked for anybody in my career. I always fought the guy who were in front of me, and this is the first time I'm calling somebody out. And I think, after 15 years, after 12 years in the UFC, I maybe deserve something that, a little candy that, I'm asking for somebody, and, it's going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, Goz and I know Jake through a trip we did to Afghanistan to visit the troops. He was in Vegas this past weekend, and there was a chance. We were trying to get him to come to the studio, so it's kind of a coincidence, I guess, that you're calling him out. So hopefully he responds. We've been wanting to have him on the show, and I plan to ask him about it. And I think it'd be a great fight, honestly. I think you both hit tremendously hard, and I think, I know the UFC likes to work off if a fighter's coming off a win versus another fighter coming off a win, and with both of you in your last fights having coming off a loss, I think it makes sense. The location sounds very good for you. Jake's pretty much traveled all over the world, so I don't think he'd have too much of a problem with, man. I think it's an awesome fight between you two guys, and that card's already shaping up nicely with that main event of DC and Anthony Johnson.
Yeah, you're right. Bottom line, this fight makes sense. So let's do it.
All right. Hey, Patrick, it's great catching up with you. Hopefully this thing comes to fruition, man. Thanks, as always, for the time. We did this kind of last minute, but I'm glad you were able to jump on the show with us.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for your work. You're a very nice guy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, folks, that's Patrick Cote. Follow him on Twitter, @Patrick_Cote. He wants Jake Ellenberger at UFC 210 in April on the 8th. And sign me up. I think that'd be a barn burner. And we're going to go to commercial right now. We will be right back after this break. We'll probably squeeze in a couple calls. Get in the queue at 866-522-2846.
Can't give up.
Yeah.
I'll either hit this.
King Kong has a lot of shit on them. Like a lot. Especially Goes. Here, gorgeous George and Goes.
Now we're closing in on the end of the first hour, and we just hung up the phone with Patrick Cote. He says he wants a piece of Jake Ellenberger. We'll get Ellenberger's thoughts on that, hopefully on a future show. And just want to let you all know that in the second hour, in about 10 minutes, we'll be joined by Alistair Overeem, who's fighting Mark Hunt, UFC 209 here in Las Vegas, March 4th. Your headliner that night is, your co-main event, starting off with that, Ferguson, Nurmagomedov. Legit, right?
Dude, he doesn't get any better than that.
Stephen Thompson, Tyron Woodley, your main event. And then, I guess in your featured bout, that's where I would put Overeem and Hunt. You're looking at, two killer heavyweights, man. I know Overeem's coming off that loss versus Stipe, but he had a good streak going into that fight. So this is one of those where you dust yourself off, see what you're made of, and get in there. And
No shame in losing the
maybe
champ.
win one or two, and you're right back in the mix because heavyweight is, 20 deep maybe. And I would think he would want JDS to beat Stipe because he owns a win over JDS. So I think that helps out his cause. We'll ask him all that when we get him on. Right now, I want to talk to Marco from Waco, Texas. Hello, Marco.
Marco from Waco, bro. ¿Qué pasa, datos? Hey, I was impressed with Curtis Blade. He should watch the Daniel Cormier Josh Barnett fight when he launched Josh Barnett in the air like he was nothing. So that is even more impressive. But don't give up on 145, man. I still, a film believer on I'm talking females, Megan Anderson, 6-foot lady that can knock people out, got a chip on her shoulder, she can talk on the mic, and she's pretty good looking too. And, I would love for you guys to probably schedule an interview because the fight is coming out this weekend. And on her last fight in Invicta, she called out both home and the random and telling them to keep that belt warm. So that is on you guys. We're going to leave you guys. Catch you guys next time.
All right, Marco. We'll see you.
That ain't a bad idea.
Well, yeah, no, I'm down, and that's probably who will be next.
Mm-hmm.
But he started off by saying, don't give up on 45. I never even got going on 45, so there's nothing to really give up. I don't think they should be doing it. It's set. I'll watch it. We'll talk about it on Monday. We'll talk about it leading up. But I'm not looking forward to any of it because, A, the star that I think they wanted to build around is on hold. These two young ladies, I think I'd love to see what Holly Holm could do to get back in the win column and compete at 35. I think she'd be a big name there. I also value, I'm going to sound corny here, but I kind of value, I guess, the sacred of the run to the title, like what a title means, what a belt means. And I feel like they're just going here. I don't know that we even have the best 45. I mean, Cyborg should be in there, but she did what she did. And I don't know, man. I just don't know that there's that many 45ers out there where we're saying we got to do this. Like when 25 came around, I think we felt like there's a lot of good fighters that are just a little bit too small for 35. I think we could build around it, and it's taken a while, but we all regard Demetrius as the number one guy pound for pound, and then all the other fighters that have come through, this last season on the reality show were great. I think there's something there. 35, a lot of people didn't like it when it first started, but you were building around Ronda, and then you had all those girls with the history of Strikeforce, a little bit of the history of Invicta. I just don't know that at 45, I would have put it on hold. I would have said, we tried, but it's on hold. Let's build it up through Invicta. Let's isolate fights like they did for Cyborg at 40. Let's just have some at 45 and get a feel for it. But there's just, who's waiting in the wings?
You're not the only one that feels like that with the build-up. And the perfect example is Ronda Rousey. What happened when they gave her belt? She didn't really like that, right? She wanted to kind of earn that belt. So I feel the same way. If they do, now that they're doing 145, if they just did 125, this is the way I'm kind of looking at it. At this point, let's just go all in.
Right.
Do 125, and then we're not touching divisions for a long time.
Right. I'm with you.
Let's just jump in.
I would say, believe it or not, I would even say atom weight because I think there's some atom weights out there. Yeah, and I would say, okay, this is it for the next 10 years. Let's run with this. And folks, we're building this. We're building this. Do you have to have a 45-pound champion and a 105 champion and a 25 champion early on? Can't they just compete there? Like when Letourneau fought Calderwood, it was a fun fight. It's like they were dipping their toe in the water, and we called it a fun fight. And what they do, they went out there and fought. So they got a paycheck. I think it opened the eyes of some other young ladies that said, yeah, I'd like to try it because I could compete with her, this, that, whatever. So I don't know that you necessarily have to have a champion right then and there. I know that's the big pay-per-view sell or whatever, but I don't know. I wish there was this type of vision where you could go, what we're building here is what we're building for the next 100 years. Let's learn off the history of boxing. Let's learn off the history of the NFL, Major League Baseball. Let's not look back on the history and go, what the fuck were they doing in 2017, and I don't know. It's just there's too much precedent to learn learn from. I think address 65 and 75 and get rid of 70.
In the
And
men's?
let's start working there. I mean, that's a division when we talk about it, you can all of a sudden pull at least 40 athletes and go, boom, that's what I would start 45 and 65 with. Those 40 athletes in each division, a valid world champion.
Are you making 195?
No, I was a big proponent of it before, but I think 205 is suffering, and I think, well, for one, 205 suffering, and I think a lot of guys that I had pegged for 95, Rich Franklin, Dan Henderson, Babalu Sobral, Shogun could still do it. I'm sure Lyoto could still do it, but Lyoto's kind of on suspension for the next 18 months. I just don't think there's enough names. So I'm almost applying the same logic that I'm applying to 145. You just kind of don't have enough. The only other thing I can say, because I know we're closing out on the first hour, is that people are saying, well, you got to build somewhere. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not a stubborn mule. I won't say, fuck no, my side only. I do see that. I guess if you're going to build, you're going to build, but I don't know. I think you could build 45 at Invicta, and 95, I think you could just have key fun fights like they have done in the past in the UFC. And once we get to that point, we get to that point. All right, so it's the end of the first hour. When we come back, we'll be talking to Alistair Overeem, who's fighting Mark Hunt at UFC 209. Stay close.
commercial break, they were probably talking smack about their next guest. But now they're going to act like they're all cool with him. Here they are, George and Goes.
I'll tell you what, we may talk smack on our next guest while they're on hold, but now I think I stop at light heavyweight and heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like, there's no smack talking because we know they can hear us. And those are the big, those are the ones that can turn your lights out with just any strike, kick, a fucking punch, an elbow, who knows what.
A breath.
And let me tell you something. The next guy that's coming up here, Alistair Overeem, he's won 41 fights, right? 37 have been finishes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not fucking around once he steps into that cage, man. I mean, he is coming to choke you. He's got 19 submissions and 18 KOs. He's coming to destroy you one way or another, either remove you from consciousness, put you to sleep. He gets it done, man. Joining us now is Alistair Overeem. What's up, Alistair? How you doing?
Oh, guys. Hey, correction. How many fights did you say I had?
You've won 41 fights and 37 have been finishes, 18 by knockout and 19 by submission.
41 fights. Did you count my kickboxing fights?
No.
I'm sure you didn't.
I didn't count those. No. I guess you've had 51 wins then at that point, and now we have to add another 7 KOs if we throw in the kickboxing.
Okay, so in total, I have like 87 fights. And, you know, people usually use the MMA record because that's what I'm doing now. But these kickboxing fights were, to me, real fights. I mean, I'm fighting in the stadium, 30,000 people in attendance, crowd. And these were huge events with TV ratings. Most of them were in Japan. And
yeah. I definitely remember the K1 World Grand Prix, man. I stayed up late for that one.
The K1 days, and some events had like a 20% rating. That is, on a population of 120 million, you do the math, that's like 25 million people watching those fights. So these fights are huge. The opponents were gruesome. These fights, you got to add them into the mix, man. 87 fights.
Yeah,
all together.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of fights, man. You've been getting down for a long time.
I even include my youth fights when I was like 17, 18. And why am I including those? Because when I was 17, I fought some guy who was 31 years old. To me, that was a real fight. Talk about amateur. No, it's not amateur. I was not wearing headgear. It was a real fight.
Yeah, and you've also competed at Abu Dhabi. I remember seeing that as well.
Yeah, but I'm not going to add those because there's no strikes involved. But when you're 17 and you're fighting some 31-year-old who's trying to knock your head off, that's a real fight.
Well,
your life is on the line, buddy.
The reason I was including it was because it was still high level. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think you're just a striker. And I thought to compete just in the qualifiers and to get past the qualifiers and make it to Abu Dhabi, you have to have a pretty damn impressive ground game as well. But I hear your point. Alistair Overeem, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. He'll be fighting Mark Hunt at UFC 209 here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, baby.
Alistair, one thing I wanted to ask you was, on your social media, at Alistair Overeem on Twitter, I noticed you retweeted Gary Goodrich, The Good Old Days, and it was a picture, you know, from back in the day with him and Mark Coleman and a few others. So obviously, you know, you're referencing Pride. How about your career in Strikeforce and primarily in the UFC? Do you think one day you'll look back and call those the good old days too? Or is the Pride days just more special than, I guess, what fighting's become now, like more of a business maybe?
Well, the good old days definitely resembles Pride. You know, those shows were awesome. And I keep hoping one day that UFC is a great show, a great promotion that really brought the sport a couple levels higher, I would say, you know, being honest to say. But the Pride shows, there was something special. And, I hope that UFC is going to go a little bit in that direction. And I already see with some of their promotional aspects, they're going a little bit in that direction. And then it comes down to the opening of the show, the entrance of the fighters. It was also grand. And, you know, back in those days, I got introduced to the sport. The first event at Pride I went, I became a fan of all those guys. And then I'm talking about Gary Goodrich, Mark Coleman, Sakuraba, all these guys. I was like a young kid back then. I was like, oh my God, look at these guys. So to me, those are the good old days. And talking about the UFC now is the good new days, because the UFC, again, they're doing a tremendous job at promoting the sport everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world where I'm going, and of course I already had a following everywhere because I fought everywhere. But even in places where I did not have a following, I'm getting recognized and I'm getting the recognition. And that's UFC. UFC has taken it to a whole new level. So these are the new days, the whole new good days.
Right. And then also, I noticed you were asking your followers on Twitter at Alistair Overeem again. You know, there's a story there of 500 fighters headed to Las Vegas for a retreat. You asked, what do you think of all this? What I wanted to ask you was, what do you think of it? Like, do you think that might be a good opportunity for fighters to say some of the stuff you just finished saying, like, hey, maybe it's time to switch things up. Maybe it's time to make the production a little bit more, you know, like special and grand, or you know, 'cause I obviously enjoyed it as well. If you went to a Pride show, you couldn't miss the beginning. At the UFC, a lot of people walk in, I'll miss the first couple prelims. I'll come in for Fox Sports 1 or maybe the main card. But at Pride, you had to be in your seat 20, 30 minutes before because there was no way you could possibly miss that. And I think the UFC could probably learn from that. And now they have new owners. Maybe they could head in that direction. Is that something that you might be interested in voicing?
Well, you know, we have a saying in Holland, keep doing what you're best at. You know, I'm an athlete, I'm a fighter. I could see myself coach one day, but that's a whole different subject. I'm a fighter. I'm focusing on me. I'm focusing on the training. I'm making sure that everything around me as an athlete is going and is top notch. I know for a fact Dana White is a huge control freak. He has done a lot of research, what is working in the event and what does not work. And for him, he has come to the conclusion that this is the format that works. And it might even be that is the format that works best for U.S., but he's bringing the format to the rest of the world. And again, to him, this works best. And I can imagine if the other format would work better, then he would use that.
But personally, you'd rather walk down a ramp, right? Do you miss those days?
Well, you know, the fight game is the fight game. I love what I'm doing. And I mean, those entrances were grand, but these entrances have their own charm, which we have now. So it is what it is. I'm not too worried about that. I'm more worried about winning my fights.
Okay, we'll focus on the fight right now. I'll say one last thing. You had one of the greatest entrances ever here in Las Vegas. It was at Mandalay Bay, and I think it was a song by Armin van Buuren. I'm also an electronic music fan, and I remember you held it up, you waved your hands in the air, and when it fucking dropped, the place went nuts, man. And I'm telling you, you coming down a ramp to that type of music, it sends goosebumps, man. Just chills down my spine just thinking about it. I hope the UFC kind of like takes, learns from stuff like that. You got to identify with the fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes, like for example, when Ronda Rousey fought Holly Holm in Australia, that was a huge arena, right? 66,000 people, and there was kind of like a walk towards the octagon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was very far.
Yeah, for sure. Alistair Overeem, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. He's a former Strikeforce heavyweight champion, former Dream interim heavyweight champion, former K1 World Grand Prix champion, and now he's a highly ranked UFC heavyweight who's fighting Mark Hunt at UFC 209 in Las Vegas on March 4th. Goes, what do you have for Alistair?
Alistair, do you believe Mark Hunt has changed much as a fighter since the first time you've competed?
Well, I hope so for him because... First of all, that first fight, I beat him in like 50 seconds. And, when was that fight? That fight was 2008. It's 2017 now. So that's 9 years. It's 9 years later. I would hope he's a better and a different fighter. When I look at his results, he definitely made a comeback. He fought for the interim belt at one point even. So, yes, he's a different fighter. He's learned some new tricks. He's finishing his fights. I can remember he's a very strong guy, tremendously strong. So you don't want to get hit by him. You got to be sharp at all times. But I feel very confident going into this fight.
Training
is very well. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You brought up I heard when you said Las Vegas, the tone in your voice changed a little bit, and it's the fight capital of the world. Everybody wants to fight here, but you fought on so many big stages where I think a lot of fighters have never fought in Japan in front of some of these huge crowds you have. Where does Vegas rank for you amongst all that?
Well, Vegas is nice because there's a lot of post-fight activities, if you know what I mean.
We know.
We know. We're in Vegas.
No, but Vegas is the fight capital of the world. It's been a while that I fought there. The last time was 2013, so I'm actually very excited to be back there, and also very excited about the new T-Mobile Arena.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's booming there. You better have a good walkout song because it's got great speakers.
I was there for UFC 200, and I had a close look at the arena, and I remember thinking, I could fight here, and I'm gonna have great results here. That's a feeling you have, right, when you walk in an arena.
Oh yeah.
Some arenas I did not like, and then I'm looking back in my career, and some arenas I really loved. Like, for example, Saitama Super Arena in Japan. The first time I was there, I was 21 or 22, loved the arena. And, okay, what happened there? I had my pride wars, some good fights, some not good fights. I beat, I think, Igor Vovchanchin there. I lost Shogun for the championship. Some of the highlights, I beat Badahari in K1, who is basically seen as one of the best kickboxers of all times. And I closed my career there. My last fight there was for the Dream Heavyweight Championship. I knocked out Todd Duffy in 19 seconds. So, yeah, that's a feeling you have when you're in the arena. You love it, or I don't love it. But T-Mobile Arena, I love that place, and I could see myself competing there many, many times.
You also defeated Karatanov, Vovchanchin, and Kanahara in Saitama. So I could see why you like that arena for sure. Alistair Overeem, our guest here. Excuse me?
Karatanov was, at the time when I beat him, that was like a interesting fight. It's already so long ago, right? Uh-huh. And people forget, but I don't forget, because Karatanov was ranked number 2 in the heavyweight division. I was ranked number 3 in the light heavyweight division. So to me, that was a big gamble, because I'm fighting a weight class up. I'm fighting a weight class up against a very dangerous opponent. At that time, he was knocking out basically people left and right. And, we did good.
Yeah.
I'm getting super nostalgic right now.
Yeah,
he's right. Like,
those Pride days were amazing.
When you walk into an arena, I believe that every arena has a soul. Mm-hmm. And when you walk in, those memories hit you. You remember them. Like if you walk into Mandalay Bay and you look up at the banners that hang there, you see Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, and they have their MMA ones. Like it has a soul, and that hits you when you walk in. You have that feeling. You remember where you were sitting in the arena when these guys came out and did their thing. He's right, man.
Yeah. History. It's history, man. And, on that note, in Saitama Super Arena, I also fought Chuck Liddell. I was a very young baby at that time. I was 23 years old. And it was totally packed, 88,000 people in attendance. And then I did lose that fight. But, overwhelming, right? And history.
And Dana White, if I'm not mistaken, was there. He should have seen the entrance. He should have seen the 88,000 in that stadium and what it was like and how they identified with each individual fighter. So he's had a taste of it. But, again, I mean, they've blown up the UFC.
He's definitely had a taste for it. He's definitely had a taste for it. But I think that he's just really looking at the most logical thing, and again, what works and what does not work. Because why would he not want to have the best thing for his own show? I believe he's a perfectionist. He wants cool stuff. He wants nice stuff. So I just came to the conclusion this format really works for the UFC and for the US market and worldwide as well.
I want there to be a little bit of a middle ground, and this is the one that I've always said. When you have two fighters like Alistair Overeem and Mark Hunt who have competed in Pride, just let them fight with the Pride gloves at least.
Yeah,
that would be
slick.
Cool, right?
That would be slick. Yeah. Was there much difference, Alistair, between the Pride gloves and the UFC gloves? I think I heard the Pride gloves were 5 ounces, UFC's 4 ounces, but do you remember any big difference?
Well, the Pride Gloves has been a while ago. I believe I fought in Dreamweaver the last time, so that's 7 years ago. But, yeah, I don't know. I like the UFC gloves. I mean, I train in the UFC gloves. I never trained in the Pride gloves.
Right.
But I do train in the UFC gloves.
Also, have you, holy cow, going down this memory road and all this history you have in combat sports, have you saved your stuff? Like, do you keep it anywhere? Do you treasure it, or is it just a big pile in a closet? Like,
yeah. No. I got all my stuff saved, all my cups, all my. That is something that UFC could do. Talking about cups, because in Pride we always got a cup. When I fought in Holland or wherever I fought, I always got something. I received something, some trophy or. There's a winner, there's a loser, and sometimes in Pride only the winner got something. The loser didn't get anything. The loser got a bag of ice, tinge your black eye, whatever. But in UFC you don't get anything.
You got to shoot for something better than a cup, though, right?
Well, okay, in UFC you get the belt if you're champion, but so many people compete in UFC and they don't have anything to show for, right? So that could indeed change. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Just a couple more things here. We really appreciate your time. So you just fought for a world title, and I know that's obviously your goal to get another belt added to the arsenal. Mark Hunt is definitely a viable contender, but in the Miocic fight versus JDS, which I think's pretty much a done deal. I would correct me if I'm wrong, but you're probably rooting for JDS, being that you hold a win over him. That would make you, I guess, even more relevant to that title chase and maybe getting there sooner.
May the best man win. But Junior's fight style is very compatible with Stipe Miocic, and indeed, then logically seen, of course, I gotta do my thing against Mark Hunt. But logically seen, then again, that would really be good for my title attempts if Junior would win, because the rematch could be there. Mm-hmm. So yes, definitely, I'm rooting for Junior for this one, for a change.
And going back to what I asked, you said you do save some of your stuff. Do you have like a man cave or just the special stuff, like on a wall, like trophies or anything like that, belts that you've had?
I have in a room, I have a cabinet. I'm actually just remodeling my house as we speak, and I'm going to have a really nice wall, an entire wall with my belts, my cups, my gloves. Yeah.
Huh,
it's going to be in style. Yeah.
Is there anyone else you hope to fight before your career is over? Like, is there another name other than winning the belt that you just have to get, you just want to get back in the octagon, whether it's someone you fought before or just someone that you respect as an opponent and you want to compete against them?
Well, I have a couple of losses I would like to erase, but I have the full confidence in time that will happen. And other than that, Junior's definitely, he's rooting for that rematch. If he wins this fight, I could definitely see that happen. That's something I would be gunning for.
Folks,
some options there.
Give Alistair a follow on Twitter, at Alistair Overeem, and check out The Ream. Season 4 episode has just dropped. If you go to his YouTube page, the links are there. We'll retweet them later on. But Alistair definitely opens up his life, and they do a great job. You've hired a great team over the years to do these. It's not just, some camera phone or anything like that. It looks like you really do spend some money, and they're very entertaining. So thanks for doing those, and I'm glad to see The Ream is back.
Yeah, The Ream is back. Season 4. Yeah, we've got 34 episodes now. And, again, I'm not a huge fan of myself, especially when I see myself or hear myself speak. I guess everybody has that, right? Oh, my God, here's myself again. Let me quickly zap the channel. But I have to say that it's really nicely edited. The music choice is great. And the story is worth telling. Is worth watching. I mean, it's been literally everywhere in the world: Japan, Korea, Thailand, Dubai, Holland. People who watch it truly are taken on an adventure, and the adventure is worth watching.
Hey, one last question. Who's your favorite DJ, by the way?
Well, I have a couple. I like Applejack.
Okay, yeah, solid.
I like Tiesto. And by the way, Tiesto is going to be in town in Vegas March 4th.
Okay.
So that's where I'll be heading after party Hakkasan.
That's money right there, too.
Of course, Steven Chan.
Huh? I said that's money right there. He's a great DJ.
Yeah. He's a pioneer. Huh? Tiesto, been doing it forever.
For sure, yeah.
And the DJing, I can DJ a little bit myself, but it has changed so much over the years. It used to be really low tech, right? But these days, everything is done with computers and fast pace and automatic. It's very different now than from the. But that's why I especially respect Tiesto, because he really is one of the pioneers.
Hey, what kind of music do you
spin? First generation. What do you think? House music, of course, EDM.
All right. Well, I wasn't sure because there's trance and there's house and there's techno, so I wasn't sure which genre, I guess, of electronic.
I'm half Dutch.
Yeah. All right.
I'm raised and I'm Dutch. Of course, it's house music.
Gotcha. If you ever get a chance, check out Eric Pritz. If you've never heard of him, he's a Swedish DJ, but he DJs everything, just like you said about Tiesto. He can do it all, man.
Yeah, I know Eric Pritz. I know him. He's good.
Cool. Thanks for the time, Alistair. Great catching up with you. Good luck with the rest of your camp. I hope everything goes safe for you. Safe travels to Las Vegas, and I guess we'll see you in a few weeks here for UFC 209 versus Mark Hunt.
Hey, thanks for having me, and have a great day, man.
All right, thank you. Take care. Folks, that's Alistair Overeem. Follow him on Twitter, @Alistair Overeem. Let him know you heard him on the @MMAjunkie Radio show, and hashtag The Reem. And check out The Reem. You'll really like it. The links are there on his website. We'll also be retweeting them later. All right, we are. What do we want to do, guys? Take a quick break here and decompress, and then blast through some calls before we get to Felice Herrig.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so we'll do that. We'll do this. We'll make this the little guy break, and you're listening to MMAjunkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Showtime from Tennessee. Aaron from Minneapolis. Steven from Connecticut. We'll blast through you when we come back on the MMAjunkie Radio Show.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here Georgian goes.
All right, we got some veterans on the line, so let's blast through some calls. Thank you to Iris for setting up the Alistair Overeem interview. It's been fun catching up with him. And I think he had a little bit of fun, too, recollecting some of those great days from Pride. Starting with Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime?
What's going on, fellas?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, Hey, George, man, I'm going to start off, man. I agree with a lot of what you say, but, man, with that 145, I disagree with you saying it shouldn't be a 145 division. I don't know how much you go to the gym and, roll around anything, but I see a lot of bigger girls, man, that are actually training now, man. And I think there's enough talent out there that, by this time next year or a year and a half from now, we may come back and laugh kind of like we did about them saying there was no talent in the 135 division. It was only Ronda. Mm-hmm. And now look at how many girls, we have, because one thing about it, man, those divisions are gonna grow fast, man. You got Invicta, you got a lot of other smaller organizations. I think it'll be an influx of talent coming into that weight division. And then with all these weight cuts, man, you got people, hurting themselves, but people fight around to the natural weight that they walk around, maybe going down 15 pounds or 10 pounds. I think you could have a lot of girls fighting at that division.
Well, if I'm wrong, I definitely will admit it to you, and we'll see. I do believe that there are many women out there that are training to become fighters. I don't know if they'll all reside in the 45 division, 35 division, or what. I just felt like going into 35, there was like at least 10 to 12 names that we could get things started with. Rousey, Tate, Kaufman at the time, McMahon, you know what I mean? And but we even pushed it a little bit because I know I saw her compete, Jessica at 25 at Bellator. Tate said it herself. She felt like she was a natural flyweight moving up. So I felt like there was, I think, a little bit more of a push there. But, the 45, it's just like I feel like we're starting off with maybe like 4, and one of them's in trouble. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of girls are out there. I guess if the matchmaking's good. One thing's for sure, women's MMA is popular. Hey, Showtime, I got to move on, but thanks for the call. Let's go to Aaron from Minneapolis. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Good interview with Overeem. It kind of got me thinking about the past, and whenever I hear new MMA fans talk about, how they just became a fan, it makes me think about kind of the times that they missed, whether it was the WEC era with the lighter guys and the fights they had there, or the Deep and Sengoku fights with, Marlon Sandro, Hioki, some of those eras. Overeem brought up a few with the K1. Here's my question. What era are we in now? Like, when we look back in a couple years, what are we going to say about this time that we're watching MMA right now? I'll take it up air.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Great call, man.
Well,
either the Fox era or the entertainment era, maybe?
The entertainment era.
Yeah, where things just started to change a little bit. I wouldn't say towards pro wrestling, but with a feel for pro wrestling.
But do you remember when pro wrestling changed to the Attitude era?
Right.
Maybe something like that, right?
Let's go to Steven in Connecticut. What's up, Steven?
Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to throw a quick random-ass question if I could.
Sure.
Okay, so one of my favorite fighters of all time is actually Eddie Wineland. And recently, he's coming off 2 pretty significant career comeback wins, that most recent one being Takei Mitsugaki, the first-round TKO. And then back in July, he knocked out Frankie Saenz in the 3rd round after a pretty good brawl. He did mention after the Frankie Saenz fight that he was looking to try to make a upset comeback for the title, run in that division. So my question for you is, with what we have right now in that 135 division, with Cruz and Garbrandt and Dillashaw and even guys like Lineker, do you think that he has what it takes to make the upset comeback and possibly, win again?
Oof.
Any streak you put together is going to have those names in it.
Right.
And that's super difficult to do. The thing about him, though, is if you just plug him into that championship fight, he stands a chance against any of them.
Yeah.
Because he hits so goddamn hard.
He hits hard. He can box. He really, truly has great boxing skills. And for MMA, I wouldn't put him into a boxing career, but he can hit. So as long as he's healthy, he's 32 now. You know, the younger guys don't go as far because of the reaction. Their speeds tends to diminish. But if he can stay healthy, maybe. He's already got these 2 fights to build off. So it would maybe take another fight or 2 to get in there. Of all the guys you mentioned, they all have wrestling in their background. But Wineland used to be pretty tough to take down. But even going back to Cruz, Garbrandt, and Dillashaw, they really love to strike. So I guess he would have a chance. I don't think he would do it. I don't think he'd get there, though, just because I think there's too many of these younger killers that have evolved a little bit more than he has. Steven, man, great call, great question. We got to move on, man. We're just running a little bit behind. I wanted to get you guys on quickly because we got to get to our next guest. But thank you very much. Good stuff. We'll dive a little bit more into that topic later on about, Wineland and other fighters that maybe could have a great comeback 2017. We're going to take a quick break. It'll be a quick one, and we'll be coming back with Felice Herrig, a winner at UFC Fight Night 104 over Alexa Grasso. Stay close.
Here are my life coaches. Everything I've done has been under their strict supervision. Here are George's Goes and Yours.
All right. Rock's got to stop hitting that bottle, Goes.
Hitting the sauce, isn't he?
He sure is. Thank you again to Alistair Overeem and Patrick Cote for their time. And now our last guest goes by the name of Felice Herrig. She fought at UFC Fight Night 104, also known as UFC Houston. This past Saturday, got a win over Alexa Grasso. She joins us now on MMAjunkie Radio. Hi, Felice. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Welcome back to MMAjunkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes. Apologies for getting you on about 5-6 minutes late. Our bad.
It's okay. I've just been sitting in the freezing cold car waiting.
Oof, now I feel even worse.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No,
Felice.
my heat's up. Don't worry. You're all good.
What kind of a
Nothing can get me down right now.
What kind of a car do you drive nowadays, by the way?
I have a Mini Cooper S.
Oh, nice.
It's orange.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I got it brand new after my last fight. But I'm not a splurger. I don't live extravagantly like that. My car before that was a 2005 Chevy Aveo, so I ran that thing into the ground, and I was like, yeah, I probably do need a new car.
I don't know why I was picturing her maybe like in a X5, the BMW X5 or something like that.
The X5?
Yeah, I don't know. But you know,
I could see her popping out of a Mini Coupe.
Mini Coupe, yeah.
Mini
that
Coupes
definitely
are
has
owned by BMW. They're fast little things. Not that it matters because I'm a grandma driver, so I don't really know why.
I actually,
but it's a good car.
I actually had to stock Felice a couple weeks ago because I was at the vet and I had to wait for them to finish washing or giving our dog a bath. So I was in the car, and you jumped on, I think it was like Instagram Live, and you were making lemon water. And I sat there and watched her make lemonade and her cat jumping in the way. It was funny, dude. But it killed time. It was awesome.
Yeah, who knew squeezing lemons could be so exciting?
Well,
I probably because I was doing it in my sports bra. I was like flexing my muscles. I was like, look at these biceps as I squeeze these lemons.
What was the outfit she was wearing, Goes?
I think she's
known,
right. I think
she's
she's
known
in
for
a
her
sports bra.
outfits.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's kind of one thing I
What
miss
I mean-
about Reebok days is the individuality. Like, and I thought Felice nailed it as far as like her camp kind of took on a theme, and so as soon as I heard it's weigh-in time, I would hop like a kangaroo to get to the TV, or sorry, to my computer to see. All right, what's she weighing in now?
Like a kangaroo.
Yeah.
I did have a lot of fun with that, but at the same time, I always had to top myself, so it did become stressful. As much as I really loved the weigh-ins, but it's kind of nice to just have my outfits kind of laid out, or here's a couple outfit choices. I'm like, ooh, I'll wear this, and call it a day.
What about calendar? Goes joked around about, oh my God, we got her on late. I hope she that doesn't hurt us in the future if you ever make a calendar, because we had your calendar on for 3 years, past the actual year when we had our older studio. Would you ever go down that road of doing another calendar?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of cool photo shoots lately. It's really, that was for a sponsor, so it's not that I shy away from it, but it's not something I'm like, hey, let me just make some random calendar of pictures of myself. That was a sponsor calendar, so it was very fitting, but, I'm sure we could throw together I'm sure I could throw together 12 photos and give you a calendar.
Yeah, because the other one was 3 years old, right?
Calendar for you.
We were late to appointments. What? The last one we had is 3 years old. So
it was up there for about 3 years after the year had passed. And I think my favorite month was September.
That's because that's my birthday month. I got to pick the best one for my birthday month. Well, the one that I wanted for September.
Exactly.
You're September too?
Yeah, we're both September. We're actually 3 days apart. I'm the 26th. He's the 23rd.
I was George's birthday present.
I bet.
She's only a week before us. She's on the 18th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My brother's is the 26th.
Oh, yeah.
26.
Oh, okay. You know what that means, Felice? You, your brother, me, my brother. That means our parents were getting down 9 months before. It was either a New Year's Eve party, Christmas party, or maybe that Friday when around Thanksgiving, that Friday when there's nothing to do. The parents, that's the time to hit it.
No, my parents are, my dad, he's so vulgar. He flat out told me, my brothers, because I'm the 18th, my baby brother who passed away was the 25th, and my other one is the 26th, and my dad flat out told us we were all conceived on Christmas Day. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, let's
Merry Christmas.
Let's talk some fights here. You versus Alexa Grasso. First of all, you were right. People did put money on you, and a lot of them have asked me to thank you. And it's nothing against Alexa Grasso. She's a good fighter, really great fighter. She was undefeated going into this. She was doing her thing at Invicta. But I think there just comes a point in every young fighter's career, male or female, where you kind of get tested. Like the competition starts to rise, and you start to get tested. And a lot of people weren't sure that she had passed that test yet. She failed this time, but you know what it's going to do? It's going to make her better. And I think that's happened to almost every fighter we've ever had on the show, with the exception of maybe Khabib, who's never lost, and maybe John Jones. But for the most part, you run into a veteran, and that's when you get better because you learn off that loss. And I think that's what you did. You checked a young fighter.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, props to Grasso. I knew coming into it she was going to be a good fight, a tough opponent, and I don't want to be too vocal, prior, but I did think that this is just, a fact that the UFC, when they created the 115-pound division, they took the top girls from Invicta and created the strawweight division. Alexa was right after that in Invicta, so she never really got to fight. Yes, she was 9-0, but she never got to fight the top girls. So it was, and I still think she could beat a lot of the girls in the strawweight division. She is, like I said, a great fighter, but that level change is just, it's different.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
It really is.
Talk about the fight. Towards the end, I would say, well, let me see. I felt like early on there was a feeling out process between the two of you, and then you guys had that mid-air collision. But it's almost like at that point, I think you reverted back to like some experience. You know what I mean? And it just looked like both ladies were kind of like in the moment, and I think you guys settled down there. She went for a heel hook, you got out, and then after that, I think you started to apply what you came to apply. A mixture of striking and then threatening takedowns, getting takedowns, stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, it was an experience thing. I know people said that, Grasso didn't show up, but I don't think that's true. I think I didn't allow her to show up. My coach kept saying, don't get in a firefight, because I was a brawler for many years, and it's not like I can't brawl, but I think there comes a point in your career where I don't need to brawl. Like, what's that going to prove? I fought a smart fight. I could have gone out there and done more, exchanges, but then I also could have gotten clipped at the end of an exchange or done something stupid because, when you do get in these like heated exchanges, you get reckless. And I think that's where the experience came in, is I didn't want to be reckless. I wanted to, not saying that I just wanted to do enough to win the fight, but I wanted to fight a smart fight, and I wanted to keep her in check, and I wanted, I didn't say it as my game plan, but I did say prior to this fight, because people were labeling me like, oh, you're the grappler, you're better than her grappling, and, kind of saying that she's the striker and she's better at me striking. And I said, I'm fine wherever this fight goes. Like, don't think that I'm afraid of her striking, because I wasn't. I knew that my striking was better. But, I've had years and years of striking, and I've worked a lot, with my boxing coach, Doug Mango, over the years. And I think that people just, with my fights, I kind of fight the fight that I want. Just because you've seen me, I have 2 submissions in the UFC doesn't label me a ground fighter. I just so happened to take those fights to the ground and got the subs, but it doesn't mean that I don't have the striking. Yeah. But I'm glad. I think she maybe underestimated that and was thinking that I was going to be desperate for the takedown. And I kind of wanted to show her, I'll strike with you. Let's go. We'll get in a boxing match.
I think some of that stemmed because the subs, first of all, were slick, and then 2, Jeff Curran, your coach, he's very well respected, ground game, and so I think that's maybe where that came from. But we've been covering you since 2006, 2007, and so we knew, of course, that Muay Thai and kickboxing was where you first started. All right, this is Felice Herrig, folks, and she's coming off a win over Alexa Grasso. You can follow her on Twitter at Felice Herrig. Let me turn it over to Goes. He's got some questions for you. Goes, what you have for Felice?
Felice, so going forward here, we've heard you say you want either Michelle Waterson or the Paige Van Zandt rematch. Is there one that sticks out above the rest for you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want the Paige fight. I just think, a lot of times the UFC, like, they'll schedule, like, if you're coming off a win, you'll fight somebody who won. If you're coming off of a loss, you'll fight another person who lost. So they'll just beat Paige. So, and that was my fight. I was scheduled to fight Michelle Watterson, and then it was taken away from me 2 weeks later and given to Paige. But it's not, the reason that I want the Paige fight is not because I have this vendetta against Paige. It's because I need to prove that to myself, and I need to show people, who don't know, because a lot of people, like these MMA fans, the casual MMA fans, they didn't follow my career before UFC. They just saw me in the UFC. So when I fought Paige and I lost to her, they think that I lost to her and that was me in there just getting out-schooled or outclassed, but it wasn't. I medically, and I've that's why I took time off, is because I medically was not capable of fighting, and something happened in there where I couldn't move. My body couldn't move. And it was a very scary thing, and I didn't know what was happening. And so I feel like that fight, it happened, unfortunately, but I feel like it never happened because Paige didn't fight me. So I want her to fight me at my best and then see, all right, well, who is a better fighter? And I believe it's me. And it's my only loss in the UFC. And yeah, I do want that fight again because it's, I do have something to prove that, and I think that I've made a strong case for it. I came back, I said that, there's something wrong with me. I took 14, 15 months off. I came back, I fixed some stuff. I worked with my performance doctor, and I came back and I beat a girl in under 2 minutes who went the distance with Paige. So that's one thing. And then I just took out, an up-and-comer 9-0 who's never lost. And so I think that my past two performances can kind of show that, maybe there's something to it. Maybe, that wasn't an excuse. That was real, because I feel like I've had a comeback story, and I wanna show people that Paige Van Zant Felice Herrig fight wasn't what it was supposed to be, if I was healthy.
Plus, there's still a lot of room on that charm bracelet, right?
Well, yeah, there's a couple. There's like 6 or 7 or 10. I don't know. I filled up 2 charm bracelets. I don't know. People probably don't know this story. So Italian charm bracelets used to be a thing. Now a lot of people probably don't know what an Italian charm bracelet is. But I had one that linked. It had like 2 separate links. So, or 2 separate towers or whatever. So I said that I wouldn't stop fighting until I filled it all the way up. So I ended up filling up 2, and then I wasn't done fighting, and then I got another one, and so that's halfway full. So I don't have it on me, but there's probably 10 links left. So I'm superstitious weird like that. It has to be, my charm bracelet has to be complete. I have to fill up the whole bracelet.
Well, Felice, we have to move on, but thank you so much for the time. Congrats on the win. I think personally, you've moved past the Van Zant. She's lost a couple times, and I think I like the Watterson matchup more. But, hey, you've definitely put your time into this sport, and I think you have a right to kind of call your shots. So if they give you Van Zant, we'll support that. Whoever they may give you, man, do your thing. Hopefully we get to see you fight more often, and it sounds like we will. It sounds like things are starting to turn for you. So we look forward to that. We look forward to covering you like we always have over these past few years. So thanks for making some time for us here at MMAjunkie Radio.
Yeah, no problem. I'm ready to fight now, so maybe next week I'll be back in the cage.
That's what's up. Folks, follow her on Twitter at Felice Herrig. Thanks, Felice, and enjoy your time off. Okay, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Felice Herrig, our last guest there. Thank you to Brian for setting that up. Not Goes to my left, but Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment. One of the coolest managers in the biz. Again, Iris, thank you so much for Alistair. And our first guest, Patrick Cote. I got to thank myself. I lined that one up. So, what's the shocker there, right? I'm fantastic. Last break. We'll come back. We'll say our final shout-outs, and we're out of here. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
Gotta get that boom, boom, boom. Gotta get that.
Do I love you? Do I lust for you? Am I a sinner because I do the two?
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
So thank you to Patrick Cote, Alistair Overeem, and Felice Herrig for their time. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Fernanda Prates, who writes for MMA Junkie. She's our Brazilian correspondent, and we've yet to really catch up with her. So we're going to talk about UFC 208. There's some Brazilians there, and I think she's been doing some great work catching up with some of the legends down there in Brazil. And then we have a couple other names that we're working on, but they're not locked in just yet, so I don't want to jinx them. Just a couple quick things. Damian Maia did respond to George Masvidal, and he said, hey, look, man, you know, I'm kind of next. Like, at this point in time, I've waited so long, I'm just going to wait out one more month of Woodley versus Thompson, and whatever comes of that, I'm next to take the Masvidal fight. Wouldn't say that. And, you know, he's so classy that I think it was just the proper response to if any Masvidal fans were wondering why didn't she take it. I do have Nunes and Shevchenko locked up. I want to see that again, and it's ready to go. I'm going to watch it after the show. I'm also going to rewatch Benavidez and Cejudo. So I'm kind of paying attention to some of the guests that we have and giving it a second opinion. As you can see here goes, I have MMA fight decisions. You know, they were talking about robbery. I was like, Gaston, calm down. It wasn't a robbery. 5 media outlets called it for Benavidez, 5 for Cejudo, and there was like 8 for draws. Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 for draws. So I don't remember there being like that much of a injustice. But they're teammates, so they're passionate. And at Lion Fight, I think they got one. So you know what I mean? It's just the way it works out. Anyway, thanks, Sam. Great job today. Tomorrow we'll be back again, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Danny will be back in the saddle along with Goes and I. So we will see you then. Go out there, folks, and be champions.
Viva!